Hello, and welcome to another edition of Education is the Best Medicine, and thanks for watching. Today is a show around entertainment and comedy. When you look up the Webster's Dictionary definition of comedy, it states it's a medieval narrative that ends happily, Dante's Inferno, or a drama of light and amusing character and typically with a happy ending, or a ludicrous or farcical event of a series of events. The comic event. Well, in the vestige and the history of African American comedy, we talk about these issues today. African American humor and the souls of black folks trying to find a way. We discuss some issues not only around comedy, but particularly African American female comedy. Today I have with me today is Miss Miracle Malone, comedian extraordinaire, and a articulate woman in the discussions around comedy and entertainment. I asked her to come today to talk about some of those issues in her own personal history. Miracle.
Thank you, George.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming.
I do this to all the man. I thought you'd never come,
Yeah.
big guy.
You know,
just teasing.
Miracle.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming. You know, we really wanted to have you come on and talk about, one, how you got into comedy, and two, your career, and some of the places you have performed just amaze me, whether it be the comedy club or in a lot of the venues that you've been involved in are really exciting. Comedy Club Act Theater, the French Quarters, you know, the West Bay
I've been
Conference.
everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. So tell me a little bit about how you got started in comedy.
Well, you know, I actually got into comedy after I was divorcing my second husband. I had raised two husbands and had 4 kids, and I was just tired. I wanted to do something different.
Kind of a mom's maybe revelation.
Yeah, I was always a class clown.
Okay.
I always had a smart mouth, and I said, you know, this is my ticket, comedy. So I started doing comedy back in 1992, and it's been a real struggle, but it's a beautiful thing because this is the only time I can say what's on my mind, because you know women are not supposed to say certain things, and so the comedy is my ticket.
One of the descriptions that for comedy, from the face of the black comedian, now female, that our humor is complex and multifactual, and it has a historical context. How do you involve history and the multi-layers of our experience in your comedy?
Well, you know, I talk about a lot of things that are of importance to me. Like education is one thing that's very, very important to me. I stress to the teenagers all the time how important education is. A lot of people think that wealth and money is what will make you. It's not true. Education is very key, and I stress that. In fact, after having all these kids, I've finally been able to go back to school, George.
Okay, yeah, I hear
I'm
you.
back in college. Holla!
Okay,
Holla, amen. Lord have mercy.
What are you taking right now?
I'm majoring in business administration at the College of Alameda.
So you make the money, you'll be able to handle it properly, right?
Well, you know, I've always wanted to be in college to get a degree.
Okay.
I have long-term aspirations of becoming an attorney, and I hope to be like Judge Mathis one day. But I have to get there, and so this was important to me to go back to school. And I tell the kids all the time to go back to. I mean, they're practically giving money away to you. I mean, how can you refuse to go to school when the government will give you money? I mean, how do you not do that? I don't know. Anyway, I'm taking advantage of it now that I'm up in age. So you know, they practically throwing money at me.
So, from your comedial standpoint, what do you think are some of your major influences in your comedy, and what do you hope to bring to the table when you are performing your comedy?
You know, I thank God that I'm glad I'm not the first female comedian to have to go through this. I'm glad Mom Mabley opened up the door for us. But I'm a big fan of Red Fox, believe it or not.
Okay.
He just turns me right on.
Familiar with Red Fox of Sanford and Son?
Of Sanford and Son.
An African American who had a long career in comedy about truth. One of the things I found about African American comedy for me is that it reflects real life. You know, you can always draw a satirical discussion, whether you're talking about Medea or you're talking about the discussion around African Americans dressing up in blackface.
Right.
Recently, Spike Lee's movie that talked about the use of blackface in comedic sense.
Right.
How has that played a role in your comedy view?
Well, you know, everyone is different. Everyone has their own route to take. That hasn't been my route. I mean, sometimes I dress up and do different characters, but for the most part, I'm just kicking the real when I'm on stage, and I hope people can get the message. I'm not trying to step on any toes. I'm just keeping it real. I talk about everything and everybody.
Well, some would say that the comedy for us as African Americans has been a code behind Master's back. It was a way we articulate our information and issues of the day. Do you use your comedy in that role, or is it just to make people laugh?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Okay, all right.
I enjoy making people laugh, but I also want to give a message when I do my comedy.
Some of the pressing issues for women in comedy, could you kind of give me some of your concerns?
Some of the pressing issues?
Yes.
I don't know why, but everything revolves around sex.
Okay.
I have a big problem with that.
Okay. Men coming on to you, or just not understand that you're a comedian, trying to be a comedian and working all male dominant world?
I'm a comedian. I'm not in a professional hooker or anything like that.
Right.
You know, I get
so sometimes
proposition all the time. I'm not trying to hear all that.
So sometimes they don't take you as seriously as
people don't take me serious. Yeah. People don't really think I'm funny.
Yeah, it took me a long time. I've seen some of your comedy. This kind of has a tilt to it.
You get tired of me roasting you after a while.
This is true. This is true. Some of your most recent venues, could you tell us a little about that, and what were the interesting things about the performances?
I've been to one of the most interesting performances I had was at the Apollo.
Okay.
I was blessed to be able to go to New York. People used to always tell me bad things about New York, and it's not true. I love that town.
Except for the odor.
It's a little on the dirty side, and it looked like they done bandaged the subway together, but other than that, it's a beautiful place to be. It really is. The people are real and open, not like here in California. Nothing like here out here in California. And I was born and raised in here in California, so I could say that.
Where'd you go to high school? Where'd you go to, where was your primary?
Well, you know, I'm a first generation Californian. My mother is from Louisiana. I went to Washington Elementary School. I graduated from Oakland Tech back in, I can't tell you, but it was somewhere in the 70s. Somewhere in the 70s.
So, are you thinking about
mid-70s.
Are you thinking about getting behind the camera or behind the production in terms of being a producer, or running the production, or developing your own production? And are you in a production company?
Well, you know, I have a production company now that I am CEO, but my long range goal is to open my own production company and get more. See, my thing is, I want to get some of these teenagers off the street with these doobie drawl type things. They running around here looking all crazy at people.
Right.
See, they need to do something constructive and get up off the streets, because they already got a place for you to be when you don't want to be constructive.
This is true.
And I don't want to see anybody locked up. See, because jail is no place to be somebody, trust me. So I want to open up a production company. I went to the East Bay Skills Center when I was younger here back in 1975, and we have an absolute need for something like that today.
Okay. And I think that part of the discussion also is the cultural aspects of your comedy. How do you bring black to the table in terms of your comedy?
Sweetheart, as soon as I open up my mouth, you know I'm black. But anyway, no.
So do you think that now that the tide is turning with more women like yourself out and discussing the business issues of comedy and unsexualizing and making you become one, quote, a very good performer and being viewed as a performer, do you think that's changing?
I don't think it's changing fast enough.
Okay.
Anyone can do comedy. Anyone can stand up in front of their friends and make people laugh, but it's all about longevity in this business. It's very cutthroat.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of things for you to deal with behind the scenes before you even get to the stage to deliver a message. So if you can survive through all that, then you're on your way.
Is there a similar kind of comedy route like the Chitlin route was in, of course, was in the South? Is there a similar kind of comedian?
It's here too.
Okay, all right.
Chitlin circuit.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you like do all the back places?
The back
Where's the
room,
most obscure place you ever went?
No, I'm sorry.
I hear you. Where's the most obscure place you went and did your comedy at that you thought was like, whoa, I done walked into something that's really out of sight?
I was in New York and Queens somewhere, and they were doing a TV show, and I was in there. And I was like, wow, how did I get in here? And who am I? And when is my mother going to come get me? But it's if you can be true to yourself, and if you're determined to do something, then you will succeed. And of course, all graces, I give all my glory to God. Without Him, I am nothing. So.
And I think we want to have you on to tell your story, and two, to have a discussion about the fact that, you know, there is talent like yourself out in the arena that is viable and visible and very professional, and we need to be utilizing you more and using you as kind of maybe our next moms, maybe, or our next female entertainer, because we need to have that kind of comedian edge. And would you consider your comedy on the cutting edge, or more like, you know, life instances and how we do things, and what's the strangest, what's the souls of black folk?
I'm flexible.
Okay.
It depends on where I'm at and what's on my mind. So I don't have a set routine that I do. I mix it up. Because, you know, I do performances at high school sometimes, and, you know, I can't be so cutting edge with them. So I try to communicate on their level with them. So I'm very flexible. My comedy evolves around different things. What would
you tell a young person about entering the world of comedy, and particularly if she's female? What would you tell her?
Number one, you really have to believe in yourself. You have to really be determined. You have to really want it. And you have to be very, very thick-skinned. Very. You can't be a crybaby doing this job. Because they'll rip you to shreds.
Any time in Europe or across the water?
No, I haven't been to Europe yet. I'm working on that. You know, I stopped to go back to school. That was very important to me to get my bachelor's degree, because that's, you know, I'm getting up in age, so I might be the next mom, maybe, because if you check out these gray hairs up in here, honey, that's why I keep this hat on. But
so, family in the area?
Well, I have 4 children, and as I said, I raised 2 husbands. I have.
Excuse me. Now you know I got to ask.
No, you know that.
Raised 2 husbands.
I raised 2 husbands.
How so?
Listen, anytime you have to cook, clean, and you know, women are expected to take care of the household, get a job, take care of the kids. Now you know that's too much, woman. That's too much work for the woman. So I really did raise 2 husbands, because all you guys have to do is just go to work and come home and eat, and mess up the house. That's it.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
But you know, I love men. I love men.
Truth and honesty are real consistent at this show. I tell you that. What do you see yourself? What do you see yourself doing in the future? What are some of the things that you'd like to accomplish? I know the degrees on the radar, the production coming on. What else would Miracle Malone like to do?
No, really seriously, as a mother and entertainer, I really do feel like I'm an educator too. I really want to do something to help the teenagers get focused and not turn to streets and crime, because I already know that's a nowhere life. And you will not like it when you travel down that road. So
the social awareness component seems like it's pretty prevalent in what you want to talk about.
It's very important to me.
You know, we have folks like Dick Gregory and Richard Pryor that kind of mark that arena. How do you move yourself into being that socially conscious, political, non-political comedian?
Well, you know, I do a lot of volunteer work where I work with teenagers, and I also work with the city of Oakland on their homeless program. And I just try to just make myself available when teenagers have, you know, things when you get troubled. I don't know how, I remember what it was like to be a teenager and to grow up. So, and I think a lot of us adults forget that.
Okay, yeah. The discussions are always around food, clothing, and shelter, discussions of access. we believe that education is the best medicine. As you do that, education is the best medicine.
Right.
We want to also, again, thank you for coming on. We think you're a light in a very, very dark world.
And you call me anytime, big guy.
So I think that as we start to evolve and grow, we're going to find more comedians like you coming to the stage and being recognized and utilized.
We need to take a stand to help these kids.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, we need to take a stand to help these kids. They're in trouble.
Yeah. Do you feel that the social support systems for our children are somewhat lacking? And,
they're almost gone.
Almost gone.
Not lacking, almost gone. Okay. The government is not into that anymore.
Okay. More like lock up.
It's on us now. It really does take a village. And so we have to step up to the plate and help these kids to get to where they're trying to be. Because you can't do it alone. Everybody needs a support system.
Yeah. Well, there's still a lot of discussions around traumatization and women and sexual abuse. Does any of your comedy speak to that discussion and how one, identify it, and secondly, try to avoid it?
I do address it. It's a little different. You really have to see it.
Okay.
I can't talk about it on this show.
Okay.
It's a little explosive kind of information.
Right.
So no, but I do address that.
Okay. All right.
Because I was a domestic. I'm a domestic abuse survivor. Okay. Yeah,
all right. What would be your take-home message in view of this issue around comedy in terms of the message that you're trying to get out about domestic violence and sexual abuse?
Well, if one learns to love himself first, you will start to make better decisions about who you socialize and allow into your world.
Okay. Right.
So you have the key is to learn to love yourself. A lot of people have low self-esteem and they can't get over that, so that leads to other troubles.
Okay. And another piece of that is that to get them out of your life because they're dangerous to you, physically and mentally.
For sure.
It seems that you've also been, how long have you been doing comedy now? How many years now?
12 years now.
12 years?
12 years, and I still have hair.
When was your first big break for you?
I think about 6 months out, I got a break, and I was called to do BET Comic View when they first started their first season.
What's changed about that? What's changed about comedy on that level? I've heard.
Like I said, this is a cutthroat business.
Okay. All right.
It really is all about who you know.
Okay. All right.
I mean, you can be talented all you want, but it really comes down to who you know.
Okay.
For sure.
And some of the games you have to play in order to get there.
Well, that's in any profession.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Would you want your kids to be comedians?
My kids be coming to me all the time for jokes. Now everybody in the family want to be comedian. They think they can tell jokes about me in my house.
Well, we've had a discussion around comedy from slavery to the present. And again, we think you reflect the best of what our society and our community has to offer in terms of cutting edge information through their comedy and social relevance. We want to thank you for that. How do we get a hold of you? What's a good way to get a hold of you?
Well, I have a website, miraclemalone.com. My voicemail hotline number will always let you know where I'm performing at, which is 510-982-0490.
Any special venues over the next couple of months that not in terms of dates?
Some stuff I'm working on.
Okay, just working on it. Okay, cool. Cool. Are you thinking of any one-woman shows or?
Actually, I'm working on writing a piece in that area. Okay. But as I said, my main focus for the last few months has been to finish school, and school's almost out, and finals are in, so I've been kind of. Okay. I'm a college student.
This is
at 45. I love it.
Wow, young college student too.
A young college student.
College student. We think also that some of the issues with our comedians and our artists has been not been recorded. So today we want to record you and make sure that there was at some point in time a Miracle Malone that had a discussion around comedy as a woman from a woman of color's perspective in case they say, gee, I never knew those things existed.
Go ahead, Brother George, that's what I'm talking about. Don't be scared of nobody.
So what do you think about now? I can see a transition from comedy from almost, again, a political, social context to almost just basic verbal and sexual innuendos. I remember at one time seeing one African-American comedian do a sexual scene on stage and get booed off.
Yeah.
And now, in this particular time, I saw almost exactly that same routine applauded. What do you think is the difference in that kind of discussion? And
I just don't understand the self-degradation.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I mean, some people are into that. I'm not one of those people.
Okay.
I mean, it's okay to talk about yourself, but I mean, to actually like degrade yourself is kind of something I'm not trying to do.
Some would say that the powers
recommend
that be that really provide the access almost have you come in with a tag that says you have to do a certain thing in order to get viewed by them. Would you think that was true?
That's not true. I mean, every venue is different. Sure, they have venues that you have to be disgusting, but you make the choice to work at those venues. Nobody's forcing you.
Okay.
So,
I guess I make that point because a lot of young rappers I know say that when they are trying to cut or produce an album, unless it has certain illicit issues or sexual explicit issues, then it won't get bought or picked up.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that. I mean, that's just the road you're traveling on. So I think you can be clean and be yourself and still maintain.
Okay.
And I want to thank you for inviting me.
You know, I think that we have to also discuss the fact that, you know, you are, again, almost 10 years in this. You think you got another 20 or 30 in you?
I'm here for life. What are you talking about? You'll see me on stage with a cane.
Okay. It's good.
The spittoon.
What do you do to relax? What do you do to get away from this very hectic and very demanding, very sometimes class-orientated and racist and sexist environment?
Actually, believe it or not, I read and write a lot.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thinking of writing a book or writing?
I am writing a book.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
What,
I'm going to tell it all.
Title yet? Oh, you're going to tell it all?
Oh, maybe that's going to be the title. I'm going to tell it all. Oh, I like that,
Yeah. I see it's the best policy, depending on who you're talking to, right?
Yeah. Depending on what job interview you're on.
Well, really, resume, right? Are you seeing the page kind of turn? I always ask it, but are you seeing the page kind of turn for yourself as a woman comedian? Although there are some barriers, do you feel overall you're able to get your message out once you get past the political garbage?
Actually, I do feel like the tides are turning for me because I stood my ground, and so I'm good to go.
Okay, all right.
I think that's important. You need to stand your ground. I mean, you can't be all wishy-washy about who you're going to be.
Okay.
I mean, you know, you have to be yourself.
Okay. What would you say your comedy tries to show or express or provide for the viewer? If I came into a Miracle Malone's performance, what could I expect?
You know, it really depends because I do different things for different people.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm just there just to entertain people. When I do high schools, I'm there to entertain and to educate. So I'm very flexible. And it depends on the venue. You know, sometimes when you're just in a nightclub, you know, it's a nightclub.
Okay, right.
So, you know, people ain't trying to hear a whole lot of education in a nightclub at 1 o'clock in the morning.
You know, hours. Really late, really early, depends on what's going on, you know. Do you feel yourself sometimes like, boy, man, this is like one more show to do, or is it like, boy, it's one more show and I'm gonna do it and I'm ready?
I always feel like I'm ready to give it.
Okay.
So I never feel like this is a job or anything,
Okay.
because I actually enjoy doing this.
Okay.
So I'm always excited when I'm on stage, so I'm always comfortable.
Okay. You know, well, as a black woman, have you done shows with other ethnic groups, and what was the difference that you found, whether it be Hispanic or Asian or Native American, in those kinds of venues? Have you found, you know, people would say that comedy was comedy, and I would have to agree with them.
That's not true. I mean, because everyone's different, so what does comedy mean? Because everyone has a different perspective on things, and for sure when you work with different racial groups, the comedy is different. So.
You know, again,
black comedy I find is a little more cutting edge, and I think that's because of the societal problems
and the
that
pressures
we have
and
to
the
deal
racism
with.
and the culture and
So
all
that's
that.
why we're a little bit more cutting edge.
How could we get a hold of you one more time? I think it's really important.
Please call me at 510-982-0490 or go directly to my website at miraclemalone.com.
And there we can get a hold of you, the venues you're presently in and what's going on.
And what's going on with me and
well, I think that
what I'm talking about.
it seems as though that we have been focusing a lot on you and I, and that's what you're here for. I want to thank you for coming. I think that you're a light in a very, very dark world. Any final words or anything you'd like to say about anything before we sign off?
Stay strong, be true to yourself, and always learn to love yourself. God bless you.
Yeah. Well, with that said, I think that, again, I want to thank you for coming on. Thank you for providing all the information you provided. Going to have you back.
I would love that.
You got to come back.
I'm going to dress up, and I'm not going to be all dressed up this time.
Okay, all right. Yeah,
I'm going to be like in comedy form.
Relax.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a relaxed show. We do relaxed things. So we
I
can
want to dress up. Shoot.
So how do we get a hold of you? One more time before you get out of here.
At 510-982-0490 or go directly to my website at miraclemalone.com.
We talk about African Americans in comedy. We talk about the complex issues in comedy.
Right.
We talk about black females in comedy. Again, we believe that our comedy has been a way of articulating and discussing the issues of the day.
Right.
If you're talking about the outgrowth of the minstrels or from Spike Lee's comedic discussions in terms of all the comedy we're talking about, whether it be Mel Watkins or Richard Pryor, these all have had a distinct impact on African American and African American life. I think that the new table is turned, and now we have a crop of black female comedians that are bringing it to the table, bringing it strong, and we want to support them and give them all our support.
That's right.
Miracle Malone, I want to thank you again for coming on.
Thank you, George.
I want to thank you for supplying such light in a very dark world. I got to do it again. Tell us how to get a hold of you.
At 510-982-0490 or go to miraclemalone.com.
Well, Miracle, thank you
Happy
very much.
holidays.
Thank you.
Thanks, George. No, I'm going to hug this time.
Thank you. You're too kind.
All
So,
right.
we just keep talking.